Good morning, Budapest, and good evening, Thailand. Welcome to Conversations with Narit. And today, my guest is the wonderful Ananta Kranti.
Oh,
And I absolutely love her. I discovered her, well, my husband discovered her a few years ago. I was sitting at my computer and he was sitting at his, and all of a sudden he calls out, he says, come here, you got to see this. This girl's awake. So.
oh,
So ever since we've been watching you and your videos, and we absolutely love your spirit and where you're speaking from, and it's a pleasure to finally meet you.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I honor your inner silence, but we're going to get some words out of you today.
I talk a lot.
Yeah. And I don't, as I mentioned to you before, I don't usually go into too many lifetime stories because most genuine teachers tell us that we're not our story. But I heard so many of yours, and you have stories that really point to the truth of being and how they got you there, and the essence of your teaching. And they're
Yeah.
beautiful. And so I wanted to ask you, first of all, what was it like to be with Osho?
I wasn't, he wasn't in the body
Oh,
but it was very much the same. Very
uh-huh.
much. Because when I came across him, like when
Mm-hmm.
he just like entered my field, you know,
Wow.
and he was still alive when he entered my field.
Okay.
And I started to pack my bags and go to India.
Oh,
And on my way, he left the body.
oh, my goodness.
So the energy was very much alive and very much present. You
Right.
know, it was like, okay, the chair was empty, but the chair was always empty.
Right.
You know, he was never the body, and his presence was still so potent.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, he penetrated my heart with his message and his whole being in such a way that, you know, I mean, I don't do all the past life stuff and all of that, but it really was, it really was like a calling that was met and known before somehow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you can translate that however, but it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing
Mm-hmm.
what happened in the life of this transformation by him entering the field. It was just amazing. And I'm so there are no words, you know, like what a grace.
Mm-hmm.
What a
Mm-hmm.
grace. Yeah.
And that happened, that meeting with him, even without being in the body. How much sooner did that happen before your experience in Japan?
About 3 years.
3 years. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'd like to ask you about the transformation that happened to you in Japan, and also the reason I bring that up in relation to Osho is how much of what you received from Osho prepared you for that experience in Japan.
It was everything.
Mm-hmm.
It was everything because I had totally surrendered to I mean, it was his form as a master,
Mm-hmm.
but it was to the truth, right? So I had totally surrendered.
Mm-hmm.
And the night I took sannyas, my partner left his body.
Yes.
So it was the first awakening, I would say, because the mind just was blown out, gone, you know. Mm-hmm. And I was receiving a darshan constantly for a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got arrested, you know, they were swarming all over my house. And there was one picture of Osho just sitting in front of me, and my eyes were just locked into his eyes. And
Wow.
the knowing was so deep that this was for me, you know?
Yeah.
This was for me.
Yes.
And he was just there, like just penetrating me with the same message. And even though the body mind was like shaking and freaking out, there was just this knowing right from that very moment. That for me, this is the transformation. This is what I've been calling so deeply for.
Yeah.
And once I was in there, a good, sweet friend brought me 25 kilos of his books.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was allowed one at a time, and I would read 2 pages a day. And because of the intensity of the expansion of awareness that I was in, and the reading of these words, there was just no separation between receiving the message and seeing it and receiving, and it was just like it was waking me up, you know.
Wow.
And that kept me all the way through. That stayed with me all the way through. So it was very, very I mean, the first satsang started happening through me in there.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't know at that time that it was I could call it that or what was happening. But when I look back now, yes, because we were not allowed to talk. It was complete silence, and working in a factory all day on machines. And towards the end of my sentence, when I had shifted already, there was a young woman who'd just come in there and had been given 4 years, coming off heroin. She was in a mess. We were allowed to speak 5 minutes a day.
Wow.
What do you say in that 5 minutes? You know, what has value?
Yes.
What has value? You've got 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so for the 23 hours and 55 minutes, you'd be like looking into that, what is worth saying.
Yes.
And I was reading his Darshan books at the same time, and that was just blowing me like, and this young woman, by the power of penetrating a thought through silence, managed to get on the machine behind me out of a great big factory. And in that 5 minutes, you know, the half an hour leading up to it, it was like, no, not that, no, not that, no, not that, no, not that, like, not that, that's not worth it, that's nothing, that's not. So when the 5 minutes opened up, there was nothing to say, and speaking happened. Wow. And speaking happened, it was absolutely direct, and it was penetrating her, because I so wanted her to know that she was free, you know?
Wow.
So it just like came through, and she was just like lighting up in that 5 minutes, and we both have a direct meeting, like in full blown, and then the bell would go and we'd have to turn back to the machine.
Oh my God, a laser beam.
It was incredible. It was an incredible gift. Yeah. And that was daily happening for months.
Wow, that's fantastic. I heard in one of your lecture or interviews, you were talking about initially when you were in that experience in Japan, there was resistance and the feeling of being a victim. And
slightly.
Slightly. I can't say I would have experienced really.
Totally.
Yeah. And you described the moment that that resistance was released.
Yeah.
If I understood you correctly, the releasing of the resistance happened. Or was it something that you would, it didn't sound from what you were saying that you did something to release it, although I'm sure it was painful enough that you wanted to release it. What was that like?
Sorry, I had tried to do everything to release it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I had tried everything to release it. And absolutely no way I reached the exhaustion point.
I see.
Right? I had no more fight left in me.
No, yeah, that's what
I
I
had
thought.
nothing left, nothing left,
Mm-hmm.
nothing left. It was an absolute just choiceless. I wasn't in that moment, I wasn't trying for anything. I was completely give up.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Seems
a
like
total.
you were so guided into your role throughout your life.
Yes.
At that point. Yeah.
And you know, I want to say also that even though there was extreme resistance and also suffering, at the very same time, there was a very strong presence of clarity,
Mm.
knowing myself as in that time, I would have said a witness.
Right.
Right? I was knowing that all the way through it.
Wow.
So that was like there all the time. And I was writing from the point of the witness and from the point of the sufferer. So it was there all the time. It wasn't that I was just completely identified in the, I was also seeing it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
you know?
Mm-hmm. Amazing. There's many, not many, but I wish there was more, but there are several spiritual teachers, so to speak, or beings like you who have acknowledged that it was their suffering that got them to where they are today. You know, Eckhart Tolle was his depression. I believe Muji suffered a terrible loss of a son, and my husband also went through depression, and he used that to wake him up. And actually, he talks about it as the greatest gift he's ever received.
Yes.
And it's to me it's so wonderful to hear how you've taken your suffering also and used it. 99.99999% of the population, the the suffering drags them down instead of people using it. What would you say to that, and what would you recommend to people who hear you to do with their suffering?
You know, it was choiceless. I couldn't have done something different. You know,
Huh.
I couldn't have chosen to not to use it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so and at that time, there wasn't all the spiritual teachings there are now. It's a very different world we're in now. I mean, this is like nearly 20 years ago when that shift took place. But even the years and years before that, you know, when I was in my younger years as a drug addict, right? Coming out of that, I knew that I always knew that it was, all of this was like training ground for later.
Yeah.
I always knew that. And working with people now, I know what I've always known is that all that training ground gave me such a depth of understanding of what suffering is,
Mm-hmm.
and to be able to really speak about it, because if you haven't been there, how can you meet somebody in that?
Right.
You know, so the people that are in it, in the suffering, these days, there's such an opportunity, because the collective now in its extremes also has an extreme consciousness movement.
Right.
And there is so much available. You've only got to turn your head in that direction and everything is available.
Mm-hmm.
But that moment of being ready to want to actually turn your head towards the opportunity that's in it. Who can say if that's a choice. Until it's a choice, it's no choice.
Right.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean,
mm-hmm.
Within my own family, I have extreme suffering going on, even today.
Oh.
Yeah, in my blood family, you know, extreme suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to do everything that I could, and there is nothing I can do.
Right.
And I have to honor the place where those beings are, and recognize and realize that they are where they are in their own process, and any interference from my side is not compassionate.
Yes.
You know, it's like the waiting with an open arms and an open heart for what they are ready for is where compassion comes in.
Yes, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
They're lucky to have you in that way. Whether they know it or not, as long as you're providing that space for them to be who they are, then they're very fortunate.
This I can provide, but they don't see me in the way that how to say that. They don't see me, they see me as the sister they always had, like, you know.
In a memory. They see you as their memory.
Yes, exactly.
And their stories about you that they remember.
Yes, and a bunch of how that gets interpreted. I have no idea. What I do know is that it's a teaching for me continuously to let go of my interference and my wanting them to be, or to, you know, they can't snap out of it. That's still a constant letting go.
Right.
You know? Right. The suchness, and it's the suchness of humanity. As much as we like not to be bombed and see children starving and all of that, it's the suchness, you know. And the humanness is like, we absolutely would like to change that. That's the humanness. Yeah. But from a greater knowing within us, deeper, it's the suchness. That's the knowing that it's the suchness. And that is really the humbling.
Yes. You're very fortunate to have had that realization, because yes, things are different today, and there's a lot more awake teachers today. At the same time, there are a lot of new age teachers as well, who teach you not to accept what is now and to focus on what you can take control of your life and follow your dreams and change things for the better. And it's almost like there's two species going on. There's a species that want a better life, and there's the species that wants to awaken.
Yes. I guess it's stages of
Yeah.
realization.
Yeah.
You know, stages, and I guess there's a place for everything.
Absolutely.
Since it's here.
What else can we do?
Who's going to argue with that? You know.
I know. It seems futile to argue with what is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the paradox, even that is what is.
Yes.
Even that is unconditionally.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I understand that you have retreats and intensives, and you have people can download audio recordings from your website.
Yes.
And I will have the website on the credits so people will see it. Something I noticed in your on your website that says, after many years of developing her own unique way, Ananta finds a most easy and simple way of bringing about the direct experience of our true nature. Can you tell us more about that?
That's the most simple thing ever.
Okay. I'm glad it's simple, because I wouldn't want to hear it if it wasn't simple.
Simple. It's the most simple part, you know. The most simple part. But I've said it many times, and I say it again. what's not simple is to I can easily bring about the true meeting directly, simply, but can it be valued?
Ah,
Is there a readiness to actually recognize?
yeah,
And that is rare.
that's right.
That's rare,
Yeah.
you know. That's rare. And I can't do that part. I can only share my stories,
Yes.
you know. And I'm working with a few people online at the moment in package type courses. And, you know, it's like first we get that recognition instantly clear. Yes, 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 yes. And there's that direct experience of like, no doubt. And then, of course, everything starts following because it has to. Everything has to come undone through the system. And like it has to be seen and met with new eyes from this place of recognition.
Yes.
But then the tendency is always that they don't want that.
No.
They don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
They want to get to this experience and stay there and not have all that represent itself. Right? And that's where the little me comes in going, no, wait a minute, this is not, you know. And then that's the whole unraveling. And it really is a question of what do you value in each moment? What do you give your life to? And sometimes it takes suffering to find out what is always free.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it takes strong experiences to come to value that.
Yes.
Not always, but
yeah,
often the case.
Yeah. Well, suffering is a great teacher. Oh, you turned the light on.
Yeah.
Talking about suffering.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, suffering does turn the light on.
Exactly that. Exactly that. It's that simple.
Yeah. It's true.
But I don't want to put down, you know, because people can be hearing this who are in extreme suffering and they say, like, what? You know, like they are not recognized where they are, and you tell it's just so simple, you just switch the light on and you kind of degrade their experience. And that's not where I'm coming from, because I really feel that to meet someone exactly where they are is teaching, is is really where the compassionate element comes in, because it's in the meeting where you can actually, okay, now we're in the meeting of that, now let's find out what is free in the midst of this. So in the middle of suffering, to come to know this freedom, suffering can stay because there's no sufferer. You know, and then the experience can stay, and it's not like trying to be run from, trying to be, run from all the time, to get away from. Because it's, I experience the suffering of the whole planet move through my body, don't you?
Yes, sometimes. Absolutely.
Yeah. But there's no sufferer.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Sometimes I can be just in my place and I feel a welling up of all like what's moving through the collective, and suddenly just like heartbreak of tears can fly out, and I'm just watching in amazement. And it's like, wow, yes, just let that move through me. And then I continue like with my cooking or whatever I was doing, you know?
Sounds familiar. My husband will tell you, sometimes I go into the kitchen house and the floodgates open.
Right. It's coming through, you know?
Yeah.
But it's when we take that on and we get our story mixed up in that and get caught in the it's because and regrets and change the life and da da da, then it's the sufferer, which is the real suffering.
Mm-hmm. So you guide your students through that as well? What advice do you give them when that happens?
Well, I don't, it's not advice. It's more that I meet them in that and show them. Because the way that I like to work with people is not that I give them advice.
Mm-hmm.
I meet them as the same one, and then I use particular questions to ask them so that they can take a look and see what is really true. And so the realization comes from them.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, so they wake up in it. It's not something that they're going to take advice from me and believe it and try to do.
Perfect.
You know, but with the right question, they take a look and go, oh yeah, and they give the answer.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's theirs, you know, and it's...
Yeah.
Otherwise, who needs advice these days? I mean, people ask for advice, but I always throw it right back to them. You know? What do you know? What do you know in your depth?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You find that when you throw it back at them, sometimes just the question itself will stop them on their tracks and
Always.
stops them. I saw that in one of your interviews. The interviewer didn't know what to do with himself. See, the mind keeps running, trying to catch back on.
Like a truth bomb, you know?
Like a good old shock to the mind.
Yeah, and it's a little bit of foreplay, like going along, like sometimes meeting them where they are in their story, like la 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 la, and then in the right moment, in, you know.
Yeah.
It's like making love, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the same. It's the same because this whole cosmos is that it's pure sexuality.
Yeah.
It's God making love with itself through form,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a good thing the universe doesn't have a restriction on that by religions.
Yeah, and there's so much crazy stuff going on, and I guess because I'm kind of a little bit I haven't been to Europe for a while, almost 2 years, and so I feel different stuff here, but I don't I'm not in that. I still feel the collective, but I'm not in that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm in Hungary. I feel the collective very strongly.
Yeah, I guess so. And
Yeah.
that this does make a difference. It's not that everybody should move to Thailand or somewhere like that because it's all moving through one consciousness,
Right.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter. But yeah, I guess like I'm aware of all the stuff that's happening. Some of it, not all of it, but I'm not meeting people continuously in that heaviness. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I will be soon. I'll be coming to Europe.
Wonderful. You have to come and meet me.
Yeah.
I'll come to meet you wherever you go.
Oh, great.
It'll be nice. Yeah.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah, that would be lovely.
Yeah. We're thinking, we're still in the thinking stage. It's, well, not really thinking, but being with it stage of having a conference next year. I just spoke in a conference on the soul, and it was nice. But what we would like to do is have a conference on with people who are free, not people who've done a research on the soul, but people who are free.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah, you look at it. Yeah.
That's the real conference. Yeah, let's have a conference. Yeah.
Yeah, and if should that happen, then we would love to have you come. It would be wonderful.
In Budapest.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, well, why not? I mean, if I'm not like too bogged down with suitcases and airplanes, uh, yeah, because I never been there, and
Beautiful.
it's yeah, it's an area I would be open to
Hmm.
know. Mm.
Good. Good. Wow, this has been absolutely fantastic meeting you and speaking with you. Um, is there anything else you would like to add? Any message to whoever's watching?
I'm kind of touched right now by your quality of honor.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and yeah, really, it touches my heart, and I guess that's what I'd like to say to the people is really like we need to honor the sacred. It's everywhere. It's in every blade of grass.
Mhm.
It's in every vegetable. It's in everything, of course. Yeah. But we need to honor the sacred. When we're chopping up a carrot, really know what this is.
Mhm.
When we start recognizing and honoring the sacred, which is in our face as much as anything else, all the time, then that opens up the sacred within us, of our own being, because it takes that to honor that.
Mhm.
So I honor your sacredness,
I honor yours.
the sacred in you. Yeah.
Thank you. It's a great honor for me and privilege to be with and speak with um, a true free being. Um, it's amazing. There's no words for it. There's even joy doesn't describe it. I don't.
Well, you just look in the mirror each day.
Yeah, yeah,
Each day, look in your own eyes in the mirror.
yeah.
Those were the only eyes I looked in when I was in prison. I used to like close the curtain and go in front of the mirror and look into my own eyes and see
Yeah.
eternity, see the whole eternity. Yeah, on that.
It's so I'm so fascinated. It's not the right word, but I love hearing about that experience. Um, Years ago, I was in an ashram in India and studying with an Indian teacher, and I had a friend who was in prison, and I would send him books of my teacher. And one day, our teacher said, "That friend of yours who's in prison isn't really in prison. You people that are here stuck in your mind are in prison." And it's such a wonderful thing to meet you and know that you are the living truth of that.
I actually told that to a guard one day.
Really.
Yeah. Yeah. I said,
Yeah,
you are the prison for me.
yeah.
It was a moment of, yeah.
What did he make of it?
It was a she.
Oh, okay.
He was like doing the same thing, like energetically whipping,
Oh,
and there was nobody else around. And she looked through the little hatch in my cell with these eyes, and I looked back into these eyes and I said, one day bye bye, but you stay here. And it
I
was
think you
just a
were already
moment.
bye bye by then. Yeah.
I was already
Yeah.
otherwise I wouldn't have risked.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's the truth. I was seeing they are all it just turned all around. It was like they are all the prisoners. They are the prisoners, you know?
Yeah. 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 Amazing. Amazing. Wow.
The whole liberation is exactly like that. It's just a
Yeah.
turnaround of the vision.
Yeah.
I often get mails from people saying, okay, I have the recognition, but there's still a person here.
What did they expect?
Exactly. Yeah, like, what am I going to do about this person that's still here?
They should invite Houdini.
This is like, even, like all the spiritual teachings and words, when it gets taken by the mind and then held on to, they imagine that if I get that experience, the person's going to disappear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, find this person in the first place.
Exactly. Yeah. 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 We have so many expectations of what it should be, or what it could be, or what it ought to be, and what it shouldn't be.
Exactly. That's all that's in the way.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Huh. That's wonderful. You're so fortunate that life took a hold of you.
You too.
And yes, absolutely, absolutely. Only this is your interview.
Oh, okay. And whipped
Yeah.
my ass. It
Yes.
continues. That life took hold of me and whipped my ass, and it
Yeah.
continues to do so.
Yeah.
Continues to do so. It's not over. It's never over.
Mhm.
That experience changed everything, but awakening is endless.
Yes.
It's not. I'm really glad that somehow we continued to this point, because this is a very important point.
Mhm.
Awakening is not an experience and then it's all done. Of course it's done for the little me, but awakening just keeps on opening you up every single day. Your deeper revelation, deeper integration. Awakening never ends.
Right.
Yeah.
That's well, I'm glad you're saying that's a wonderful, wonderful thing to say, because for myself, and I'm sure there's others too, there's a preconception that one day I will wake up and that's it. And then it'll be game over. And there's no such thing.
Exactly. I actually said this years ago on a conscious TV interview, and I had someone write to me and tell me that I hadn't arrived because I was saying awakening never ends.
Arrived where? I didn't know you were going somewhere.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. That's wonderful.
But more and more I'm realizing that now, and actually speaking it. And I feel that, like the people who are sharing this message, to be absolutely honest about our personal experience is crucial.
Yes.
It's crucial. That's what really helps, if it's helping, to let people know that exactly where they are. It's all okay.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Every day there's new discoveries and new realizations and deepening.
For me it's really just like endlessly dying, because it's so many generations of human belief systems that's still wired into the body mind system, so that's continuously undoing itself through consciousness. So it's not that, you know, you, once you know what you are, then that's happening freely through you.
Right.
It's not happening to you, it's happening freely through you, but it's all of humanity undoing through you. And this body mind has its own share of that, you know?
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. Just when we ended the interview, all the really juicy stuff starts, you know?
Yeah. Oh, we haven't ended the interview yet.
Yeah.
We're still recording.
We did at some point, right? We did at some point, and then
Well, it came to a little pause, but I'm
yeah,
still recording.
yeah. I get that. I get
Yeah.
that. I was noticing, like,
Yeah.
all these points are really valuable to those who've already got this experience of
Yeah.
knowing awareness, aware of itself as oneself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that's really the beginning.
Yeah.
It's where it really starts undoing.
Mm. Yes. And I love what you said about valuing the simplicity, putting a value in the simplicity that will just keep it going. Because I find that with most people, that's where the resistance comes in. If it's not complicated, if it's not simple, their mind keeps going out again and looking for other things and invalidating the actual initial awakening.
Well, what I notice a lot is that a lot of people, what they do is they get this experience, but they cannot value it, that this is their experience
Right.
they're waiting for, because they're waiting for some big bang.
Yes.
They cannot recognize the simplicity, and then all the stories and all the desires and all the whatever is worth more.
Right.
You know, what about this experience? Just, you know, awareness, aware of itself, so what? That's really, you know, they have to then go through more to realize that, oh, it's not just awareness, aware of itself, it's also always free.
Yeah.
It's also looking through every pair of eyes. It's also all there is.
Uh-huh.
It's also like the majesty. I mean, until you really start seeing the value of that, it doesn't reveal its majesty.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The mind always thinks that there must be something more to it.
Yeah.
You know, when
And that is what blocks the more being revealed.
exactly, you know, the greatest gift that I got from I woke up through my husband, and when I met him, I've already had 40 years of all kinds of spiritual content piled on top of each other. And at that moment, when I finally got the simplicity, he actually shook me up and says, "This is it." But this is it. And I said, "What do you mean it? What is it? What? No, this is it. You don't have to keep looking anymore." Then, yeah.
And how long were you married before that moment?
Oh, we weren't married yet. It was shortly
Oh,
after we got together, actually.
that
Yeah.
was worth marrying him. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, Eckhart Tolle says if you want to know if somebody's enlightened, marry them.
Oh,
So I
he
did.
also, he also said visit your parents.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, because that's also an interesting subject, what you say, because once you marry them, that's really where you get to see all the dirty laundry, right?
Yeah.
Not only
Yeah.
see it, but smell it, you know?
Yeah.
You know, oh, it all, you know, everything. And that is really, really, really valuable.
Yes.
So much illusions around what it would be like to live with an awakened being also. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh, it's been a blessing.
Mm.
Yeah.
How long have you been married?
A few months. we
Oh, just a few months.
No, we've been together for 5 years, but married
Ah,
just for a few months, and
ah. Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
So you were clear to marry him once you got that experience
Yeah.
from him.
Okay, you'll do. You know, people write their lists of what they want in a man. He has to be awake.
Yeah.
Good. Oh, well, yeah. It's so wonderful to be comfortable in silence and not knowing what to say next or
Oh, it's the only place to be,
Mm.
to really be.
Mm.
The light is going. Is it dark? Do you start to see darkness?
A little bit, a little bit. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Ananta. It's been a beyond joy and pleasure speaking with you and being with you, more than speaking, being with you. I hope our audiences will enjoy this as much as I have. Um, best wishes wherever you are on the globe, and may you find your own freedom. Thank you very much, and God bless.
Köszöntöm a Mária Rádió hallgatóit!